Well, hello, my fabulous friends. I'm going to talk to you today about something I have been thinking about for many, many years, and I think I might be right. And I thought, well, let's ask the cards. So, obviously, you've seen by the thumbnail, I'm talking about Atlantis today, and I've already done a reading on Atlantis, but I want to twist this around a little bit. And is Atlantis our history, or when Plato was talking about Atlantis, was he prophesizing the future? I want you to listen to some of the points that Plato made about Atlantis and see what country you think of when he's talking about it. So obviously it's a country, it's an enormous island beyond the Pillars of Hercules or the Strait of Gibraltar, larger than Libya and Asia combined, with concentric rings of sea and land encircling a central city. So it has to be massive. A powerful advanced civilization ruled by kings descended from, well, that time it was called Poseidon, but we would call it now Europe, living in abundance, luxury, and military might. Massive concentric canals, bridges, and docks for a huge navy, a grand palace, temples plated with precious metals, and a giant statue of their kings. Style of transportation, large fleets of ships for ocean travel and chariots drawn by horses for land. They also built complex roads and canals for transport and trade. Advanced engineering and architecture. They built huge cities with sophisticated infrastructure, like concentric rings of land and water connected by bridges, tunnels, and canals wide enough for ships. They constructed grand temples, palaces, and docks, plated with precious metals. They had advanced irrigation, aqueducts, and drainage systems for their fertile plain. They maintained a massive navy with thousands of ships and harbors to house them, suggesting mastery of shipbuilding and ocean travel. Agricultural and resource management. They engineered the land with walls, moats, and a huge plain divided into sections for farming and animal husbandry, all well irrigated. Advanced technologically. Now, let's go back to Plato's time. I want to talk about these huge canals that around the city. Well, what do we have now? We have what's called ring roads. Is Plato describing America? And not just the United States, right? So you think bigger than Asia. Well, you take all of North America, right? All of it, from Mexico right to the tip of Canada. Those concentric circles, well, we have ring roads now. A powerful advanced civilization ruled by kings descended from what we call now Europe. He called them Poseidon because that's where he was Greek. All the kings then came from Poseidon. Massive bridges, docks for a huge navy. He keeps going on about this huge navy and how this navy has traveled the world. Grand palaces, well, yeah, look at the White House as a grand palace. And when he talks about precious metals, how many of the roof tops were made of copper? And they're all green now from weathering, but originally they were all made from copper. Also, you go inside some of these churches, which they didn't have back in Plato's time, how much gold is in these churches, what he called palaces. I've been in some churches, it's almost solid gold, some of these older churches. Now, large fleets of ships for ocean travel and chariots drawn by horses for land. They also built complex roads and canals for transport and trade. So you think about it, you think, United States, you think about the technology that has come from the United States. Apple, Microsoft, Oracle, Cisco, Facebook, you think of the technology giants that have come from the United States, from America. You think of what the worldwide travel that he talks about. So you think Plato, he's looking at ships. Well, airplanes are ships. Where was air flight invented? America. Where were why did we need all these roads? Well, for the cars. Where were cars invented? America. A lot of the horse-drawn, also, they called the iron horse the trains. Look at the trains that were built in America. Now, trains weren't invented in America, but look at they needed the trains to open up the West. Advanced, they had, that's something that you don't really see a lot in Europe, is the huge plain that divided into sections for farming and animal husbandry, all well irrigated. So he would have seen, maybe in his mind eye, this majestic, huge plain area of quilt of different farms, and the huge farming that is done in America. Now, Francis Bacon wrote a book, The New Atlantis, and he said it was America. But he wasn't around to see the technology, to see the Navy that is all over the world, the ships, the huge, massive battleships that they have that have come from America. The mastery of shipbuilding and ocean travel. Again, is that the shipbuilding, the airplanes, right? Let's see, what else did they have here? Now, the concentric rings of canals, that's one thing that nobody can really put their finger on, but I think it's the ring roads that we have. I think it's the cities. You can definitely see some kind of major road system. Might not be an exact circle, but many of the major cities have these huge ring roads. Like the city I live in, most of the cities have huge ring roads for you to get around. And I think that's what he was seeing, but he didn't understand what it was for. He didn't know what a car was. He didn't know what a paved road was. And you think about it, maybe he saw these black and he thought it was a canal, but actually it's like asphalt for a road. A powerful advanced civilization. Well, America is one of the most advanced countries in the world, were leading, and a powerful civilization. So you think of, the power that America has around the world. They have the power to start wars, to end wars, to choke a country out, to change the rulership in the regime. They're a very powerful country, one of the most powerful countries. They've ruled the economy. Their dollar is everywhere. Their language is everywhere. How can you not say they are powerful? Also, Atlantis, Atlantis, America. They had not named America back then. They were even unsure of its existence. Now, I don't believe Atlantis was 9,000 years ago, and I don't believe it's 9,000 years in the future. I think we're living it right now. I don't think it was in our past. I think he was prophesizing the future. He just didn't have the language. Just like us, somebody in 1980, and you would show them your phone, they'd say, oh, a little square computer kind of thing. They wouldn't call it a phone. They wouldn't know it was a phone. They wouldn't know it was the internet. You show somebody a from 1980 a Google homepage, and they would say, I don't know, some kind of form you fill out. They wouldn't say, oh, they had the internet back then, right? I mean, so you think about trying to describe something, even in, you go back to 1890, let's go back 100 years ago. Look at this thing on the wall that makes pictures. Would they call that a TV, or would they call it, you know, a thing on the wall that makes pictures? Right? So I think that's one of the things we have to consider when when Plato, when he's describing what he's seeing, was he predicting, projecting, prophesizing the future? And especially when he talks about beyond the strait, beyond the pillars of Hercules, or what we call today the Strait of Gibraltar, larger than Libya and Asia. Well, Asia was like, right? Can you fit Asia into that area? If you turned it sideways, probably. And he sees great cities like look at New York, LA, Houston, Chicago, right? He sees all these great cities with these and ruled by kings descended from Poseidon. He said Poseidon, which meant kings. Well, they have proven that many presidents are loosely related to kings from Europe. So I'm going to ask the cards, is Atlantis in our future? Are we living it right now? Let's just ask it this way. When Plato was talking about Atlantis, because Atlantis was never mentioned by the Egyptians, by any other culture. So when Plato was talking about Atlantis, was he talking about the future? And we misconstrued it to mean the past. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't a great seafaring country, because there was. Right from what we call Scandinavia all the way down to Egypt, over to China, and they did. There absolutely was. And you can tell because the Viking ships and the ancient Egyptian boats are very, very similar. Also, we can go into Scotia was one of the pharaoh's Akhenaten's daughter. So there definitely was some kind of trade going on there. Not denying that. And is this why we haven't found Atlantis? Because it's right under our feet, right under our noses, hidden in plain sight. So was Plato talking about a future society rather than a past society? So was Plato describing what he saw as a future society? Oh, these are huge cards. These are the Voyager cards, and I thought they'd be perfect because they're kind of spacey. They have Egyptian iconography and whatnot on them. And shall we begin? Ace of Cups, ecstasy. That would be a yes. Dullness, Seven of Crystals. That would be Seven of Strategy, Seven of Swords. Narrowness, Nine of Crystals. Six of Wands in reverse, Trust in reverse. And Guardian, Woman of Crystals. I want to make sure you can, these are huge, so. All right. Well, first of all, if I go by my upright positive, reversals negative, we've got a yes. We only have one in reverse. I'm going to say the Guardian of Secrets here. The guardian of secrets. And I'm also going to say this dullness and narrowness is perhaps that's our narrow-minded thinking that he was talking about the past. Death in reverse on top of dullness. Seven of Cups in reverse, fear. You know what? Like, look at that fear. Like, that would be Atlantis falling, wouldn't it? Maybe what we think it's in the past because of all the major floods that have happened that are in our cellular memory, in our psyche, that it's easier to believe that a great society fell because we were like, oh yeah, we got Noah's Ark, that makes sense. Something happened and they fell, rather than thinking, ooh, this is us and we're gonna fall one day, right? Epochs and eons, they come and go. Like, are we on the precipice of being Atlantis, or have we been Atlantis for a while? And so we're on the other side of the hill, or do we still have much more to go before the end of Atlantis? And you have to think, when did technology really start to take off? Since I would say the Gilded Age, the late 1800s, early 1900s, when we started inventing electricity and airplanes and cars and all of that. So I think we're just barely stepping into it. I mean, parts of Western United States is still quite young in the whole scheme of things. I mean, there's cities in Europe that are 1,000, 2,000 years old, and there's big cities in the United States that are 200 years old. So we might be just at the front of it, but this fear, there's something in us about collapsing. Three of Worlds, nurturing in reverse. Three of Wands, compassion. Looking forward to the future. Delusion, 10 of Crystals. Delusion. I'm wondering if the delusion is that it isn't in the past, because we have the Three of Wands here, which is looking forward to the future. Lovers in reverse, choice in reverse. Choice in reverse. Lovers in reverse. Synergy, Six of Worlds. I'm almost wondering if the whole Plato thing is some kind of psyop. How do we know he wrote it? How do we know? Well, this was written by Plato. How do we know? How do we even know somebody named Plato existed? Well, because they said so. Right? I mean, why is it no other culture talks about Atlantis? If it was that great, why is there no records in the Egyptians talking about? And everybody says, oh, the pyramids and the Sphinx is from Atlantis. And my card said no. My card said no, Atlantis is actually scattered out throughout the Mediterranean, like Greece, Italy. And that would make sense because they traveled all the oceans doing trade. Six of Worlds, Four of Wands, aspiration. The Tower. The Tower. Logic, Four of Crystals in reverse. Well, yeah, is it logic that they lived 9,000 years ago and nobody else talked about them until Plato came along? Like, he said he heard it from the Egyptians, yet there's no real record of that. Learner, Child of Crystals. Two of Crystals. I'm really starting to wonder how true is this whole Atlantis narrative? How true is it? Like, did somebody actually find a book that Plato wrote and it was all in Greek? Was it translated properly? There's so many questions around it. And I'm going to say that the whole Atlantis narrative is kind of turned upside down. The Hermit in reverse, the Star in reverse. With the Star would be Atlantis. That's my Atlantis card, my Aquarian Atlantis card. Strength, there's Egypt, and Empress. There's, you know what, this almost looks like the fields that he was talking about. Woman of Cups. Got a couple of, we got lots of female energy here, and yet people say Atlantis is the masculine, is the kings, and I want to say, because you think about it, when the towers were hit, things have changed so much since then. And there has been no hope or healing since then. And so are we grasping at something that there is some kind of hope or healing? I'm going to say that yes, there's some truth that it was more in the future than it was the past. I'm going to say that there's lots of, you've got to take a lot of it with a grain of salt. I'm not getting that there's anything here in the past, though, about it. So I think in some respects, it's confirming that Atlantis didn't happen in the past, but it's not confirming that it's happening in the future either. It is somewhat confirming that we are here right now. Right? The Empress is, pregnant with possibilities, very creative. You could almost say like the way the plains and then the mountains go in North America. Just I'm thinking that in some respects, it's not out in space. It's not in the past. The Hermit can be the past as well. This is more confusing than anything. I'm going to ask just upright positive, reversals negative. Are we currently living in Atlantis? Are we currently living in Atlantean times? Are we currently living in Atlantean times? Upright positive, reversals negative. Aspiration, Four of Wands. Yeah, we are. Look at, I just noticed that. Statue of Liberty. Second time this card has come up. So I think there's something, but I'm not picking up on everything. Like, that's why I think it was a kind of a confusing. Is America actually Atlantis? Is America Atlantis? Is America Atlantis? Five of Wands, oppression, balance, That's the Justice card. We all know America loves their lawyers. They're also Libra rising. And the Four of Cups in reverse. Anger. I'm going to say this is the division that's going on. I'm going to say the cards are saying yes, because the United States is Libra rising. I'll be doing a July 4th special for all my American friends, and that's how I know they're Libra rising. And here's the Libra card. Five of Wands, oppression. Is this the people they're putting in jail to kick them out? And then, of course, the anger that's going on right now. Interesting. All right. So there's something I'm missing, and I think that's why the reading was kind of confusing about the way I asked the question. It didn't say that Atlantis was in our past. I'm telling you that much right now. Didn't say Atlantis was in our future either. Or it just could even be saying that Atlantis isn't the be all and end all, and some of the information you have is kind of wrong. Perhaps just parts of the United States are Atlantis and parts aren't. I'll gather my wits about me and get some more questions going on this, because I think this needs some investigation. Yeah, I think it does. I think that and I think it has a lot to do with what Plato said. I was getting that part of it is not quite right. Either it wasn't translated correctly, or it was enhanced, perhaps, to make it more mysterious. I'm going to see if other cultures talk about the new Atlantis, America. All right. Well, what do you think? Was this fun for you too, to think about something differently, from a different point of view? That perhaps it's not our past, perhaps it's something that's coming in the future. Another thing that made me think of it too is the Bear and Trump stories. Like, are they telling us about the past, or are the people actually prophesizing and time traveling into the future? But they didn't have the words to explain what they were seeing. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Please take good care. See you online. Bye for now.